China Crisis File brings you shocking truths once again today. In 2025, the Chinese economy is not just in decline, but is collapsing at an unprecedented rate. The real estate bubble has completely burst, and overlapping consumption recession and fears about exports have put billions of people on the brink of life and death. Elderly people, driven by fear of poverty, are rushing to free distribution centers in search of scant food, competing fiercely for bread and groceries. The most tragic situation is for those at the very bottom of society who lack any safety net. Millions of farmers shut out of cities have become homeless, and their curled-up bodies sleeping in street corners are being witnessed everywhere. As corporate bankruptcies spread like dominoes across China, the unemployment rate skyrockets, and a video reflecting a desperate reality has gone viral on Chinese TikTok, shocking the public. The footage captures the sight of thousands of Chinese people rushing to the border with Vietnam every day. With worn-out suitcases in hand, they are heading to the southern neighbor, Vietnam, in search of jobs for survival. Eyewitnesses at the scene witness a historically humiliating reversal. 10 years ago, it was Vietnamese workers coming to China to work, but now it is the Chinese desperately fleeing to Vietnam. The moment the customs gate opens, the crowd surges forward in utter chaos. From 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., they clutch passports and passes, desperately crossing the border. One internet user acknowledged the authenticity of this footage and expressed heartache while recounting that in the once celebrated Pingxiang port, many Vietnamese worked in furniture factories. However, following the pandemic, many global corporations have relocated to Vietnam, causing a flood of Chinese job seekers into Vietnam. No longer do Vietnamese workers come to China. The current Vietnamese economy is rapidly growing, reminiscent of the former freshness and vitality of the business environment. In many respects, it threatens to overtake China's policies, business environment, and openness to the world. The vast industrial parks in Vietnam are in need of labor, providing the only lifeline for unemployed Chinese. The sight of young people with resumes and middle-aged individuals with heavy burdens forming long lines at the border symbolizes the collapse of the Chinese economy and the end of an era once marked by global ascent. In the current economic situation, waves of layoffs are mercilessly washing over the workforce. Those over 35, particularly high-level white-collar workers, are often the first targets. The tragic story of a 35-year-old female HR executive starkly illustrates this cruelty. As the HR head of a public company, she coldly executed the layoffs of 685 employees, yet ironically, she herself became the 686th layoff target. Looking back, she recalls graduating from university at the age of 24 as the first in her village and entering society full of hope as an excellent student. After 11 years of hard work, she rose to a managerial position only to be discarded like a disposable part in the end. She has seen a once 48-year-old executive plead to be retained even if it meant a pay cut, and witnessed a colleague faint on the spot upon receiving a layoff notice requiring an ambulance. At the time, she thought those scenes were exaggerated, but now they have befallen her. When she was in the position to lay off others, she viewed it as just a rule of work. However, when she found herself in that position, she realized it was a matter that shattered lives. After 11 years of business trips to Beijing, she stared at the office lights at 1 a.m., returning home under the starry sky at 4 a.m. She believed that advancing in the company would bring stability, but all her efforts could not protect her. In recent years, unpaid salaries have become commonplace, not only in small and medium-sized enterprises, but even in large corporations. Local government employees, although engaged in monthly evaluations, have reported not receiving their salaries for months. The fear of having their basic food expenses go unpaid has made their daily existence one of anxiety. Employees in state-owned enterprises have also raised alarms about not receiving pay for 2 consecutive months. Despair is spreading among young elites with higher education. A male management trainee hired by a well-known domestic company was laid off just 6 months after joining. He had performed excellently, received scholarships, and displayed leadership qualities, believing he was a future executive candidate. Yet the company ruthlessly laid off him and his peers from prestigious universities. He realized that the company discarded all the new graduates hired that year as mere expendables. He warns younger colleagues to choose companies carefully and never to join blindly. Prolonged anxiety had paralyzed his mind. His salary dropped from 3,000 yuan in January to 2,000 yuan, and by September, it had fallen to 1,800 yen. The fear of not knowing where the bottom line of the management was terrified him, and he worried it could decline even to 1,600 or 1,500 yuan. He expressed a sense of helplessness, as if all his efforts had come to nothing, and he could not even think of what else he could do. HR representatives expressed that the current job market feels suffocating. For a single job posting, 2,000 to 4,000 resumes may flood in within 2 days. This is why there are no responses, even after sending thousands of applications. Jobs that offered a monthly salary of 4,000 yuan, which were once ignored, have now become highly competitive. The number of young people applying for security jobs is increasing, while high-educated individuals are entering the delivery sector. Even teaching positions, once a symbol of stability, are being reduced. A delivery driver who has worked tirelessly from 8:30 a.m. until evening without taking breaks reported a daily earnings of just 110 yuan. He tearfully stated that in today's world, one must think that merely breathing to live is a happiness. Sudden bankruptcies can happen at any time. One day a company can look stable only to declare closure of all stores by Monday, leaving employees stranded without several months' unpaid salaries. In 2024, 11.8 million college students are expected to graduate, and by 2025, the number is predicted to reach an all-time high of 12.2 million. The tremendous influx of new graduates is pushing the job market into a dangerously competitive state. On September 15th, a large job fair held at Harbin National University of Technology saw lines stretching over a kilometer, with 110,000 people vying for just 9,676 positions. The venue was in chaos, likened to an overcrowded rush hour. As one graduate remarked, it felt more like a tactical survival than a job fair. The value of academic qualifications is plummeting. Liberal arts graduates now earn an average salary of 3,500 yuan, and even those holding expensive PhDs earn around 5,000 yuan. After many years of tuition and effort, the income they receive is barely enough to pay rent. The internet is filled with anguished voices, students whose farming parents work tirelessly to support their education, yet can't even get an interview, or individuals from all-income households recounting tearfully how they applied to 30 companies and only received 2 rejections. Even postdoctoral researchers who once anticipated the advantages of white-collar positions are realizing that the competition is now even harsher. Recruiters casually mention that a high education level is common, equivalent to holding a bachelor's degree. On September 21st, a teacher recruitment fair held at Qingnan University saw 2,000 positions available, with 20,000 graduates lining up before dawn. Participants stood for the entire day without resting. Students could be seen practicing their self-introductions under streetlights outside the stadium. And the moment the door opened, they rushed towards the recruitment booths like sprinters. Recently, a part-time job opening at a supermarket in Xinjiang gained attention. There were 900 positions available, and when online applications opened, the system crashed due to overwhelming access. By the end of the day, 132,000 people had registered, resulting in a competition ratio of 146 times, comparable to the most difficult civil service exams. Amazingly, even for roles such as cashier, security personnel, and cleaners, a higher education level was required. Among the over 9,000 applicants, companies had no choice but to raise standards to sift through candidates. The number of applicants for civil service exams, viewed as the sole means of stability, has doubled over the past 5 years, reaching 3.51 million. For a female police chief position, over 7,500 applicants rushed in. This year, with the relaxation of educational age limits for civil service exams, an additional 8 million people gained eligibility, highlighting the deepening despair of those seeking stability. The reality for gig workers, amounting to 200 million individuals, is even harsher. Despite heavy rains in the southern labor market, many people gather in search of day labor. The current cruel reality in China is that without work, there is no income. Young people are emerging who, having lost jobs in cities, are now using short videos to sell products in their hometowns. But making a profit is not easy. Platforms like Weibo and Kuaishou are flooded with the hashtag unemployment diary, where young individuals document their daily struggles. Parents' hearts are also breaking. A taxi driver in Qingdao bites his lip at the reality that his once top-performing daughter is now selling drinks at home. A student's mother tearfully recounted that her son, who learned automation, now helps relatives with fruit repairs. They want to send their children abroad, but the family's coffers are empty. In this suffocating atmosphere, youth are opting to lie flat. They are reducing their desires to the extreme and refusing rigorous labor. This is seen not just as mere evasion, but as a kind of class struggle. Through a silent resistance of not working or consuming, they seek to force a change in the social structure.